My daughter says a man lives inside her closet. And until last night, I thought she was just imagining things like any 6-year-old would. But last night, I heard him speak back. I need you to listen closely because what's happening in this house doesn't feel human anymore. And if you're listening to this while trying to sleep, maybe keep one light on, just in case. We moved into this house 3 months ago. It was old, creaky, and the kind of silent that makes your ears ring. At first, I thought it was just the normal feeling of moving into a new place, but this house felt different. The silence wasn't peaceful. It felt like something was listening. My daughter Lily didn't notice any of that. She loved her new room. She ran around barefoot on the soft carpet, twirling between the pink curtains and laughing as sunlight filled the space. It looked like a child's perfect room, bright, innocent, harmless. But the very first time I stepped into that room, something felt off. The air was colder than the rest of the house. There was a heaviness I couldn't explain, a feeling like someone had been standing there just before we walked in, watching us. I tried to ignore it, but the closet bothered me from the first day. A narrow wooden door with peeling white paint and a tiny old-fashioned knob. It creaked loudly whenever it moved. The inside smelled like dust and old wet wood, like something that had been left to rot for years. I didn't say anything. I didn't want Lily to be scared of her own room. But 1 week after moving in, during bedtime, she whispered, "Daddy, he lives in my closet." Her voice was so soft I barely heard her. I thought she meant a monster under the bed or something from a cartoon. I tried to smile and lighten the moment. "Sweetie, closets don't have people living in them." She didn't blink. She didn't laugh. She just pointed at the closet and said, with complete seriousness, "Not a monster, a man." Her voice trembled on the last word. That night was the first time she refused to sleep without the hallway light on. For the next few nights, I kept hearing scratching noises coming from inside the closet. Slow, deliberate scratching, like fingernails dragging along wooden walls. I'd rush in, fling the door open, and find nothing. No movement, no signs of anything being touched. But every time I closed it, the coldness returned, and the scratching would start again an hour later. Soft, patient, almost like the sound was waiting for me to notice. One night around 2 a.m., I got up to get water. As I passed Lily's room, I heard her whispering. I thought she was talking in her sleep at first, but her whisper was too clear, too intentional. I pushed the door open slowly. She was sitting upright in her bed, facing the closet. The closet door was open, just an inch, and she was speaking softly toward it. "Okay, I'll tell him, but don't be mad." I felt frozen. I stepped inside. "Lily, who are you talking to?" She turned her head toward me slowly, like she already knew I'd be standing there. Her eyes were wide and awake, and she said, "He says you shouldn't open his door without knocking." I swallowed hard. For the first time, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if she was dreaming, sleep-talking, or if something truly terrifying was happening in that room. 3 nights later, things got worse. I stayed awake in the hallway that night, sitting quietly, trying to figure out if I was losing my mind or if something real was occurring. At 3:15 a.m., the closet door opened on its own. A slow, gentle creak, like someone inside was pushing it open carefully. I stared at it. Lily was asleep. There was no wind, no draft, no reason for that door to move. I stood up, took 1 step forward, and the door stopped moving. like something noticed me. I shut the door quickly and walked away, trying to convince myself it must have just loosened hinges or old wood expanding. But last night was different. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I heard Lily whimpering. Not crying loudly, just soft, broken sounds like she was trying not to make noise. I ran into her room. She was standing in the corner, hands over her ears, staring at the closet with tears sliding down her face. I scooped her up. "Lily, what's wrong? What happened?" She pressed her face into my chest and whispered, "He says he wants to talk to you now." A chill ran down my spine, so cold it felt like my bones froze. I turned to look at the closet. The door was wide open. The room felt colder than ever, the kind of cold that feels intelligent. I took 2 steps forward because some part of me needed to prove to myself that nothing was there. And that's when it happened. A voice, deep, low, and wrong, came from inside the darkness. "Come closer." I stumbled backward, holding Lily tighter. My breath caught in my throat, my entire body locked up, refusing to move, because that voice didn't sound like a hallucination. It didn't sound like a sound inside the walls. It sounded like a man standing just beyond where the darkness turned pitch black. Then I heard breathing, slow, heavy breathing, right at the edge of the closet door. I backed out of the room, step by step, afraid that if I turned my back, something would crawl out. The voice whispered again, "Don't leave, not yet." Then the closet door began to close, smoothly, calmly, deliberately, like a hand was pulling it shut from inside. I slammed the bedroom door shut and locked it. Lily and I stayed in my room until the sun came up. In the morning, I gathered the courage to check the closet again. Inside were long scratches on the wooden floor, fresh ones, deep enough that splinters curled upward, as if someone had been sitting there, digging their nails into the floorboards. Some of the scratches formed letters. One word: stay. I told my daughter we were leaving. I started packing immediately. But while I was moving boxes down the hallway, Lily stopped at her doorway and whispered, "Daddy." I looked at her. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the closet. Her voice was small, trembling. "He's standing there." I turned toward the closet, and the door creaked open just a few inches, as if greeting us. I grabbed Lily and ran. I thought it was over, but tonight, our last night here, as I finish packing, I hear something. The sound of a door opening. Not from Lily's room, from mine. My closet. The one I never worried about. I hear slow breathing inside it now. And Lily just said, "Daddy." He followed us. I've lived in this house for almost a year now, and until last month, I never noticed anything strange about the windows. They were just windows, old, a little foggy, creaky when you opened them. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. But now, I can't look at them at night, not after what I saw. This all started with a simple mistake. I forgot to close the curtains one night. I was exhausted after work, half asleep, and I just dropped into bed without even checking the room. I didn't realize anything was wrong until around 2:40 a.m. when something cold brushed against my face, like a breeze, except my window was closed. I opened my eyes just enough to see the curtain move slightly, a soft ripple, like someone had touched it from the other side. I told myself it was just the AC vent or some draft, but then I realized something that made my stomach twist. The curtain wasn't moving outward. It was being pulled inward, very slowly. I froze. My body wouldn't move, and my breath caught in my throat. It felt like someone was standing on the other side of the window, pinching the fabric between their fingers, gently lifting it. But I still tried to rationalize it. Maybe the air pressure changed. Maybe it was nothing. I rolled onto my other side, pretending I didn't see anything, trying to force myself back to sleep. Then I heard it. A single tap on the glass. Soft, light, deliberate. I turned immediately, heart pounding. The curtain dropped back into place. The window went silent. I didn't sleep after that. I waited for the sun to rise just so I could open the curtains and reassure myself nothing was there. Except there were fingerprints on the outside of the glass. Small, thin, like a woman's hand. I tried wiping them off, but the marks didn't smudge. They were on the inside of the double pane, between the layers of glass, impossible to reach. I tried convincing myself maybe the smudges were old, but that wasn't true. I cleaned those windows when I moved in. They were pristine. The second night was worse. I made sure to close the curtains this time. I locked the window, checked it twice. Then I wrapped myself in bed and tried not to think about it. Around 3 a.m., something woke me up. Not a sound, not a movement, a feeling, a crawling sensation that something was watching me. I slowly turned my head toward the window. The curtain was slightly open, just enough for someone to peer through. And behind the fabric, I saw an outline, a head, leaning forward, right against the glass. My throat tightened. My body refused to move. The shadow didn't shift, didn't sway, just stared. I could see the shape of tangled hair against the dim moonlight. I whispered to myself, "It's just my imagination, just a shadow." But then the shadow moved, not away, closer. The curtain brushed inward again, as if someone was dragging a finger down its edge. Slow, scraping, teasing. Tap. A soft tap against the glass. My body jolted. I fumbled for my phone, shining the flashlight at the window. Nothing. But the curtain gently fell back into place, like someone had released it. The next morning, there were new fingerprints, pressed harder, smeared, and above them, the faint outline of lips, like someone had pressed their mouth against the window. The third night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat on the far side of my room, lights on, watching the window. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Until around 4:10 a.m., there was a long, slow drag down the glass. A nail, scraping from top to bottom. I saw the curtain push outward that time, like someone traced their fingers against it. I whispered, "What do you want?" And for a moment, everything went still, silent. Then, a soft voice, muffled through the glass, whispered back, "Let me in." I stumbled backward, nearly falling. My heart was pounding so loudly it hurt. I didn't dare open the window or the curtains. I didn't dare move. That voice, it didn't sound human. It sounded wrong, like someone speaking with a throat full of water. The voice whispered again, this time in a tone that felt almost pleading. "I'm cold." I covered my ears. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. And then, tapping. Rhythmic, desperate, faster and faster, like someone was hitting the glass with their fingernails. I forced myself to stand, grabbed the chair, and wedged it under the doorknob so nothing could get in. But that wasn't what she wanted. She wanted the window. Eventually, the tapping stopped. Dawn came. I didn't look at the glass until full daylight. This time, the fingerprints spelled something. 3 words. I found you. I called the contractor to replace the window. He removed the entire frame, glass and all. He held it up to the sunlight, inspecting it. "You sure no one was messing with this from the outside?" he asked. I shook my head. "There's something else," he said. He pointed at the inside of the double pane glass. Deep vertical scratch marks. On the inside, between the layers. Impossible to reach. I left the window on the curb for disposal. But last night, at 3:12 a.m., I heard tapping again. On the new window. Slow. Patient. Like she wasn't trying to be let in, but reminding me she already knows where I sleep. And tonight, as I record this, the curtain just moved again. I should have never camped in those woods alone. I didn't even want to, not really. But that night, when something knocked back from inside a hollow tree, I realized I had walked into the one place that didn't want me there. It started with the sound of knocking. 3 slow, patient knocks, just past midnight. And then, my own hard breath turning to steam in the cold air as something deep in the woods whispered my name in a voice that wasn't human. But before I tell you what happened, do one thing for me. Make sure your room has at least one dim light on, because this story takes place in the kind of darkness that has weight, the kind that presses against your skin until you can't tell whether you're awake or dreaming. I went camping because I needed space. Work was suffocating, my relationship was falling apart, and I hadn't slept properly in weeks. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept waking up feeling like someone was standing next to my bed. So I thought the forest would calm me. I chose an isolated spot, a clearing near a stream. Pine needles carpeted the ground. Cold air carried the scent of moss and wet bark. The forest looked peaceful, silent, too silent. By sunset, I had my tent set up and a fire burning. The flame flickered lazily, glowing orange against the trees. But the moment the sun slid behind the hills, the temperature dropped, and the forest changed. It wasn't the normal night sounds, no crickets, no owls, no rustling leaves. Just cold, motionless silence. I tried brushing it off, focusing on the fire, eating my meal, scrolling through my phone like a fool. But I kept feeling watched. Not by an animal, not by a person, by the forest itself. Around 11 p.m., my fire was dying down, so I grabbed my lantern and went to gather more wood. The trees looked different at night. Not like trees at all, but like tall black figures standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting. I found a fallen trunk that was hollow inside, perfect for firewood. I knelt down, stuck my hand inside the opening to break off some dry pieces. But before I could touch anything, from inside the hollow log, something knocked. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The kind of knock a person would make on a door before asking to be let in. My whole body froze. I snatched my hand back so fast I scraped my wrist. I held my breath and listened. Silence. I told myself it could have been something shifting inside, A squirrel, maybe. But the knots were too controlled, too deliberate. I took a step back, and a voice whispered from the hollow log. A whisper that sounded like dry leaves rubbing together. Hello. I dropped the lantern. I don't know how long I stood there, paralyzed, staring at that hollow opening. Every instinct told me to run, but I couldn't. It didn't sound like a human voice. It didn't sound like an animal either. It sounded like something mimicking speech without ever having spoken before. I backed away slowly, my boots crunching on the forest floor, until I reached the clearing. The fire was almost gone. The moment I stepped near the tent, a gust of wind blew through the clearing, extinguishing what little flame remained. The woods went pitch black. I lunged for my backpack, my hands shaking as I fumbled with my flashlight. But when I turned it on, there were footprints, fresh ones, all around the clearing. Not mine, not human. 4 long claw marks on each foot, but spaced like they belonged to something walking upright. I swallowed hard. The footprints circled my tent, twice, then stopped, right at the entrance. My whole body began to tremble. I knew whatever knocked from inside that tree was now out here somewhere, watching, waiting. I zipped myself into the tent, breathing fast, trying to stay quiet. The canvas walls were thin, too thin. I sat there for what felt like hours. Then, the sound. Leaves crunching. Slow, heavy footsteps, coming closer. I covered my mouth with my hands, praying the nylon walls would hide my presence. But those steps were deliberate, like something was circling the tent, dragging its feet. The steps stopped on the left side of the tent. Silence. Then I heard it, breathing, right outside. Slow, raspy, almost wet sounding, like lungs that hadn't been used in a long time. A shadow moved across the tent wall. Too tall, too thin. It bent forward, leaning close to the fabric. And then, it spoke, in that same cracked whisper I heard in the log. Let me see you. My throat tightened. It sounded like someone speaking with a mouth that wasn't made for words. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The creature, thing, whatever it was, dragged its fingernails across the tent wall, scratching it gently. A tease, a warning. My flashlight flickered. The temperature dropped so sharply my breath fogged inside the tent. The voice circled around, whispering, Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Out? Out of what? The tent? The forest? The hollow tree? Or something else entirely? I clenched my eyes shut. Hours passed. Or minutes. I couldn't tell. The footsteps wandered away slowly, fading into the woods, until all I heard was silence. And then the knocking returned. Not from the tree, not from outside, but from the back of the tent. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. This time they were closer, right behind my head. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and bolted out of the tent, not caring what was out there. The forest was dead quiet, but I felt it, felt eyes watching me as I sprinted to my car. I turned the headlights on and saw something move between the trees. A tall, thin silhouette with impossibly long arms. Its head tilted slowly, like it was studying my car the way humans look at animals in cages. I floored the engine, dirt spinning behind the tires as I shot down the narrow trail. I didn't stop driving until I reached a gas station miles away. The next morning, a ranger went to my campsite to retrieve my abandoned gear. He called me. His voice was shaking. He said the tent was shredded from the inside, as if something had clawed its way out, not in. He said the hollow tree near my campsite had collapsed overnight, split open, empty, nothing inside but fresh claw marks. He asked if I wanted him to retrieve my backpack that he found inside the tree trunk. But I never put my backpack inside that tree. I told him to burn it. I told him to burn everything. I haven't been camping since, and I never will. But sometimes, late at night, right when the house goes completely quiet, I swear I can hear those 3 slow knocks coming from somewhere inside my walls. Knock, 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 and a dry whisper that follows. Let me in.